thank goodness for Sharon and the team from Quinovic Merivale. Hello, Sharon.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
Well, you know, twisted my arm and all that there. You're here to give us some great advice, but let's step it back. Property management, a lot of us may think, oh, I can do it. I don't need someone else doing it. But you're seeing things change now.
There's been a lot of legal changes over the last couple of years, and there's certainly a lot more legal regulations in Australia and other foreign countries over property management. So, you know, New Zealanders are do-it-yourselfers, Cantabrians even more so. But, you know, there's a lot of people changing out there at the moment and just realising that for a reasonably small investment, they get peace of mind that they don't necessarily have doing it for themselves.
So what are the legal responsibilities of a landlord? Because that could be quite daunting in its own.
So everyone needs to remember that whether it's a private landlord or a professional landlord, we are governed by the Residential Tenancies Act. And they do regularly change what has to happen in the marketplace. The Act clearly sets out what the regulations are for a landlord. You know, the main things being that it needs to be a safe, secure, well-maintained home. And if you don't meet those requirements, there's some pretty hefty fines out there, which, you know, can have a huge impact on the return on investment. One of the main ones that private landlords get caught up in is that you must lodge your bond payments within 23 days of receiving the money. You can't just put that in your own account and hold on to it until the end of the tenancy. And so if a tenant finds out that it's not been lodged, then yeah, there's some hefty fines that go with it.
Because you receive a receipt, don't you? So that the what's it called?
Yep.
The bond
centre. So they send notification both to the landlord and the tenant.
Brilliant.
And if they don't receive that, then yeah, there's some fines.
You can question it because you have to have some form of safety for a tenant, don't you? I know that, you know, it is the landlord's property, but as a tenant, I want to feel like I'm secure.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it works for both parties.
So what are the more recent law changes that are affecting?
One that I'd like to cover off actually happened about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's to do with a landlord that travels a lot and any person that goes overseas for more than 21 days at a time. Now, this regulation stated that if you're out of the country for 21 days, you must have an agent. Now that sounds quite scary, and it was used as a sales pitch by property managers after the event. But just to clarify, the word agent in this case doesn't mean a professional property manager. But you must make sure that your tenant has a telephone number that they can ring in New Zealand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that person is prepared to pay up if any maintenance needs to get done during that period that the property owner's away. Again, if they don't, they can be fined, and ignorance or saying I was out of the country is not an excuse under the law anymore. And
again, I'll say it again, if you had a property manager, that takes all that stress and anxiety out for yourself and also for your tenant.
That's right.
Smoke detectors. I unfortunately went past a property that went up in smoke. Actually, 2 days ago, there was no smoke detectors, and it was a rented property to students.
Wow, yep. So as of July this year, the Act clearly states that smoke detectors must be in place. There must be one smoke detector at least on each level of the property, and that they must be within 3 metres of any bedroom. So any pre-existing alarms from pre-July 2016 can stay in place, but any new ones that have been installed must be the long-yeared 10-year guaranteed alarms. Now, the other thing that the Act has made much, much clearer for us is that the owner is responsible for the installation at the beginning of a tenancy, but the tenant is responsible for the batteries if they need to be replaced, and they can be heavily fined if smoke detectors have been tampered with or removed. There has already been one case go through tribunal, and it was over $3,000 fine to the tenant for removing a smoke detector.
My goodness. And do you know what? Actually, you know what? I've probably put my hand out. If I was a landlord, I'd probably just pay the $10 or whatever for some batteries and just have them ready available. Really? It's pretty nominal, isn't it, at the end of the day? Insulation, we have some homes that we could probably see the cracks as far as insulation.
Absolutely. So as of July this year, any tenancy agreement must have written in there the level of insulation that exists, just so that it's clarifying and the tenant fully understands what insulation is around. From July 2019, there are some specifics that have to be maintained. And those are readily available online to find out exactly what those regulations are going to be. So our suggestion is, at the moment, there's a lot of companies out there that are doing free house appraisals. It will cover off all sorts of health and safety things of your property. But get that underway, get an idea of what you're looking at so that you can budget over the next 2 years to get these things in place.
That's great. But I think end of the day, what we need to, if we've got any questions, and we do love the idea of having a property manager, we should get in contact with you and just have that conversation about what we need to do.
Absolutely.
And you've made it easy. Quinovic Merivale is 48 Papanui Road in Merivale. You can phone 03 355 0348. But a great website, quinovic-merivale.co.nz. It doesn't have to be a scary process at all.